Okay, we're ready. This week, we're going to be talking about the Friends for Climate. It's the Waco Friends for Climate, correct?
Waco Friends.
I always say the Waco Friends for Peace and Climate because that's what you guys used to be.
Right. We changed our name. It's Waco Friends of the Climate.
Waco Friends of the Climate. Okay. This week, I'm going to be talking about Waco Friends of the Climate and their art exhibit that's going to be happening this month throughout the month of October. Today, I have Dr. Alan Northcutt with me today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, greetings. I'm Alan Northcutt. I am the director of the organization you mentioned, Waco Friends of the Climate. And we're a group that's been around working on climate issues for about 8 to 10 years now in Waco. And, we just do everything climate related. We try to focus on direct action and education. Those are the two broad areas that we participate in.
Yeah, what brought you to Waco? Or are you a Waco native?
Actually, I'm not a native, but I've been here 31 years, so almost.
So basically a native.
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
And how long have you been working for how long have you been the director?
I've been the director for 10 to 12 years now, quite some time.
Mm-hmm. So you actually started this group?
No, I didn't start it. It was started back in 2002, around the time of the Iraq War. And then since over the last 10 years or so, we've directed our focus to climate. We realized that the most important issue facing mankind is the climate crisis. So that's what we decided to put all our work into, and there was really nobody else in Waco, any nonprofits working in that area. So we felt there was a huge need, and that's what we've tried to fill.
Yeah, and tell me about some of the events that you've done in the past.
We have monthly meetings. Of course, that's been altered now. We've had one Zoom meeting, but normally we have a monthly meeting on the third Monday of the month. We have a documentary on climate, or we have a lecture. And so that's a monthly thing. And then all during the year, we do a number of different events. We have held a free climate concert where we had a singer-songwriter, who performed, and it was free.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I don't know if David Robics, he's a really well-known, musician, kind of an activist musician. Mm-hmm. We had him perform for us. We've had, we do a number of things kind of as a public service. For like 8 years now on Earth Day, we give away reusable shopping bags at the farmer's market. You may have seen that. And so that's, a tradition of ours now. It's not quite as directly related to climate, but the fact is there's quite a large carbon footprint involved with plastics. If you look at the whole life cycle of plastics, there's quite a greenhouse gas emission component of that. So we give those away to try to get away from the use of plastic, especially single-use plastic bags. Recently, we've had a really, I think, important project. There was no styrofoam recycling in the city of Waco, and we recognize this. So about a year and a half ago, we found a location that we could actually take styrofoam and get it recycled. So every 3 months or so, we get U-Haul trucks and we collect styrofoam from all over the city. People bring it to us, and then we take it for recycling. So that's a project that we've undertaken that I think is, a useful service. Otherwise, that styrofoam, of course, ends up in the landfill. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing we do.
And I just covered that on my podcast previously. We've talked about that before too.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You guys did it over in the parking lot of the Ocean Buffet, and you guys had those U-Haul trucks. And I heard you guys had to get an extra U-Haul truck?
That's right. The last time we did it, it was probably been a month or so. After only like an hour, the truck was almost full. And I was like panicking, I said, what am I going to do for the next 3 hours? And people are showing up, So I ran across the street to the U-Haul place, and luckily they had a truck. We rented another truck. So we ended up with about 1.5 trucks full of styrofoam. Mm-hmm. So it's really been, impressive to me the way that the people in the city of Waco have responded to this. And, people line up when we open, in the morning with their cars full of styrofoam. And so we're really gratified by that. And so that's one of our more recent projects.
That's really awesome. And what is some other things that you would like to see in the Waco community?
Well, what I like to say is I see a real interest in recycling in Waco. I see the citizens are really attuned to that, and most people, I think, do recycle. And when we started, this opportunity for people to recycle styrofoam, they jumped on that. And what I want to say and try to make this point is, in the 21st century, the real issue is the climate crisis. I mean, recycling is important, of course, and as is litter and so forth, the thing other groups work on. But the issue that has to do with our survival as a species is the climate crisis. Our planet is heating up. We're observing disastrous effects already, and those are going to just compound as the temperature continues to increase. So what I would like to ask is that all those folks that are concerned about recycling put that same energy and that eagerness to act and that ambition into taking action on the climate crisis. And there's a lot of things people can do. We're not powerless. There's a lot of things each person can do. Policy, of course, is number one. At the federal and state and city levels, that's the number one thing, really. That's the most important. But individual action by individual citizens is also crucial. So I like to encourage people to take action on the climate crisis, just as they did in recycling, during the last century. The 21st century climate is really the issue.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I love that you made that touch point. And now I know also that Waco's been having a lot more environmentally active activities. Like we recently had an electric car show. And I know you personally drive an electric car. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that was, I guess, within the last couple of weeks. And there's a Heart of Texas Electric Auto Association, I believe is the proper name. And I guess 5 or 6 of us assembled downtown, and we had our electric cars for people to come by and check out. And it's a great thing. And I'm beginning to see more electric cars in Waco as well. Mm-hmm. And I would say that driving an electric car, that is one of the most important things people can do. Mm-hmm. When you talk about like, what can I do, as one person, the car you drive is, if you think about it, it's one of the most direct uses you have of fossil fuels. That's your real contact in the world with fossil fuels. That you actually can see it, you smell it. When you press your accelerator, you're burning fossil fuels, if you think about it. So I would encourage people, when you change your car or whatever, to consider an electric car. I think you must test drive an electric car now. That's if you're concerned about our planet, our environment, I think it's incumbent on you to do that. And the prices are becoming very competitive. And remember, there's a couple of other things. It's not just the price. There's a federal tax rebate on most electric cars, which is like $7,500. And something most people probably don't know is the state of Texas has a $2,500 rebate. It's through January. It ends pretty soon, but that's available. You have to do some paperwork and so forth. But this is talking about like a $10,000 off the price of the car if you take these steps. So there's that. And number 2 is you save a lot of money on the fuel costs. In the state of Texas, it costs about half as much to fuel your car, like fueling it, but with electricity rather than gasoline. The calculations are it costs about half as much, right? And on maintenance, electric cars have very, very minimal. You don't have your oil changes. And there's only very few moving parts, so there's not much to go wrong. Maintenance costs and fueling costs are much lower, so you have to look at the big picture. But I would say if you test drive an electric car, you'll be amazed, and I don't think you'll want to go back to gasoline. I've been driving an electric car now for 4 years, and I would never consider a gasoline car.
Yeah.
EVs are great to drive.
And I drive a Nissan Leaf, so I'm also
Yay.
I'm new to the electric car community, but that's
Wonderful.
one of the steps that I've taken as a local Wacoan. But this goes perfectly into the art exhibit. So now tell us a little bit about that.
Well, congratulations. That's great that you're driving that. I'm impressed.
I'm in the community now.
Yes, yes. Isn't it wonderful to drive?
I love it. I'm never going back. I've already said that. We also have a Volkswagen Jetta. It's my husband's car. And we're planning already to switch to the new Volkswagen that just came out. They're doing an all-electric Volkswagen.
Is that the ID4 or?
I think so. My husband's like obsessed with it. That's his baby. He's been talking about it. So,
Great.
But we're already planning. We're gonna get rid of the Jetta, move up a little bit, go all electric, and it works perfectly for a sustainable lifestyle.
You're doing the right thing, and I hope everyone listening to this will consider that and hopefully take action on it.
And of course, the low maintenance as a young female, you don't have to change your oil or anything.
Yeah, and that's not just a matter of saving money; it's saving time. You got to go somewhere, you got to either leave your car or you got to sit there and wait for an hour or so. And that adds up. But you don't have that with EVs. That's really nice. So.
Yeah, and saving time so you can do more art.
Yeah.
And now tell me about the exhibit.
Yes, very happy to. This is actually our 4th year. We call it the 4th annual Climate Crisis Art Exhibit. Now this year, it's virtual for obvious reasons with the pandemic, but it's been a wonderful thing. And what you'll see when you go to the exhibit is you don't just see the pieces of art. It's actually like a 3-dimensional gallery, and you can navigate around in the different rooms, the different walls of the exhibit. It has a very realistic effect. There's lighting, there's shadows, and it simulates being in a gallery. So I think it makes it a lot of fun. In addition to seeing the art, appreciating the aesthetic, the beauty of the art, plus of course the message. And this is an art show that's not just about artistic ability and aesthetics. It's about the important message of the climate crisis and that we have to take action on it. So it's a community-wide exhibit. We have art from like preschool up to high school students, and some Baylor art students participate, a Baylor professor participates. So we have also we have some of the most well-known professional artists in Waco. So we have a really wide spectrum of art, and so we call it a community-wide exhibit. Our idea is to include everyone who is concerned about the climate crisis and wants to use their artistic skill, whether it's amateur or professional, to express their feeling about the climate crisis. And we have about 85 entries. The show actually grew from last year, which I was afraid no one would show up with the pandemic. I was really worried about it. But
I've been promoting it, so
thank you. That's probably why we're doing well. But yes, the response has been great, and we've had, like I said, about 85 entries, more than last year. And I just encourage people to come and view it. And there's it's separated into 2 galleries. Gallery A is adults. Gallery B is, we call it, students. So that's the one, from preschool to Baylor. Any kind of school age people are in Gallery B. So you can look at all the art, and then there's another page that you go to where you can vote for your favorite. We call it the People's Choice Award. And that's always fun, because people can pick out the art that they like the best. You go to that, you enter the number of that piece of art, and a little information, and also you vote, and then there's a prize for the winner of it. It's I have to check. It's like $400 or $500 for the People's Choice Award. And then if you do vote, you're eligible to win some door prizes. So this is about education, but we also wanted to make it fun. So we're giving away some climate related, books and things. And we're also giving away $100, for the people who vote. So, it's another good reason to vote for your favorite. So we have that part of it. There's also a page where you can go. It's called What Can I Do? Something like that, where we list maybe 10 or 15 actions that people could take. Like I was referring to driving electric cars, there's putting solar on your house, using a 100% renewable utility. There's quite a long list there of things you can do. And the way I view it is no one can do everything, but everybody can do something on this list to combat the climate crisis. So that's part of the gallery as well. So I think you'll find the gallery a lot of fun and also, educational and useful. So
Yeah, and tell me where we can find the links to everything and tell us how to find you and get involved.
Well, the exhibit itself it's kind of long, but it's Climate Crisis Art Exhibit, and it's .org. That's where you can go directly to the show. Now, our organization, our website is friendsofpeace.org. So it's a little bit confusing, but it has to do with the history of the organization. But it's friendsofpeace.org. And if you go there, you can find all the things that we do. And there's also a link, of course, to the art show. But those are the two main things. Our friendsofpeace.org is our website of our organization and has a lot of good information. It has columns that our members have written. It goes through kind of a history of our activities, our actions, everything we've done. And I really just skimmed the surface as far as things we've done. I mean, we've fought pipelines. We've participated in, massive marches in New York City, and we've done a lot of things over these years. But you'll find a history of our actions and our educational efforts there, and then there's information about when our meetings are going to be held when we get back to regular meetings, and there's a link to the show, and its individual website is climatecrisisartexhibit.org. So they're both .orgs.
All right. And thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. And I really appreciate everything that you've done for the Waco community. And I really think that we're trying to make a difference here in our own town just by even taking little steps. So I really appreciate you coming on and talking about all this fun stuff.
Well, thanks for, giving this importance, giving this time. And I know you've covered some of the things we've done before. You've covered the EV car show. And I think that's important. There's something that a new term we have in the climate activism world called climate silence. And you may have heard this, but I see that in Waco. Up until recently, you could never even find the term climate change in the Waco Tribune Herald. I hate to say, and I looked for it, but I think it's improved some. I write regular columns, for the Trib, and I think things are improving, and that refers to the media in general. There has been a generalized kind of climate silence, but when there's a massive record hurricane, or when when Australia is burning down, the connection to the climate crisis should be made in the media, and often that's not done, and I think that's a problem. That's what we call climate silence, and I think among people in general, even among political parties that should care about and really it's part of their platform, often it's not talked about as other issues are, and I think that's a real problem, because when you get down to it, this issue has to be resolved. We have to try to preserve a livable climate. If we don't, all the other issues that we have to deal with are going to be kind of moot. If our planet is burning down, if, we're just overwhelmed with superstorms, with massive record forest fires, with sea level rise that's devastating, major population centers throughout the world, it will be disastrous. If we don't act, we're looking at least 3 degrees C temperature increase by 2100. And the climate scientists tell us that, that would be catastrophic for our planet. So we have to act. And we have to act rapidly. The best science we have says that we have about 10 years to cut our emissions by 45%. And that's pretty dramatic, 45%. And by 2050, we need to be net zero emissions. So we have really a Herculean task ahead of us. And so we need to talk about it. We need to end the climate silence, and we need to take action individually, and we need to vote for candidates who are committed to acting on climate change or acting on the climate crisis. That's crucial. This time of year, we must vote for candidates who will take action on climate. We don't have 4 more years to waste. That's a fact. We must, that's almost half of that 10 years I was talking about, right? So I would encourage everybody to do that, as well as, doing what you can individually and talking about climate change, talking about what we can now call it the climate crisis, I think is the best term for it. And we appreciate you covering this and caring about it.
Of course. And it's important just to, reiterate how important it is as a local community to step up and for us to grow and, take more accountability for our own actions, especially here in the Waco community. Again, we have started to be more environmentally active and have started to do a lot more. So again, thank you guys for coming on. You've made such a difference in our community. And I think that moving forward, Waco is going to be great and have some new changes happening.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, and thank you for caring about this.
Bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Mike.
And we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros, Foes, Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Welcome to One Star Rewind, a new podcast about those dreaded one-star reviews that every business owner hates to receive, but yet every customer loves to read. During this podcast, we will peel back that one-star review to better understand how it happened, when it happened, and what the business owner is doing after receiving that one-star review. This podcast will be about love, hate, and laughter. On One Star Rewind, we will meet with real business owners who will tell their stories and how they do rely on reviews for their business. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or download us at roguemedianetwork.com. Please subscribe, but only rate and review for not a one-star review. Join us each time for a new review and a new story.